Hey folks, Damien and Ann here. We just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge the loss of Charles Grodin this week. We actually already recorded this week's episode, and then we heard of his passing. And we wanted to take a minute to acknowledge that because he's been on the tip of our tongues these last few weeks of the show.
Yeah, and also because I had some unforeseen, unknown reason that I didn't like Charles Grodin. And guess what? I was wrong, and I was proven wrong. And I think it's important to acknowledge when you're wrong and when you learn something. So I feel like thank you to Amy Tedesco. I have a lot of work to do. And I feel like, we don't talk about men on this podcast, but Charles Grodin seemed like a real one, as they say, seemed like a real mensch. And I feel like one of my blind spots is definitely The Heartbreak Kid that Elaine May directed. I'm excited to watch Clifford, which seems like a wild ride.
You need to see it.
So anyway, my partner's family had a text chain today, and they told me that the news of Charles Grodin's passing was triggering for them because I had told them that I didn't like Beethoven in December. So I apologize for that and for triggering anyone. Long live Charles Grodin, R.I.P. He seemed like a good man and, maybe like a comedy legend for a lot of people.
Yeah, so please go watch Clifford, The Great Muppet Caper, Beethoven, Midnight Run, The Heartbreak Kid, seems like old times. King Kong with Jessica Lange, which I think is underrated. Yes. So I Married an Axe Murderer. Get into his body of work and pour one out for old Charles today and enjoy the rest of this episode.
I'm Saycon Sengbloh, and you're listening to You Might Know Her From with Damien and Ann.
So I've been binge watching Couples Therapy for the last 12 hours and the shock and for listeners. So this is a docuseries on Showtime that my friend Kelly recommended to me. And you're literally watching couples in therapy. So it's fascinating. And you're following the first season, at least you're following these 5 different couples, I think. And so it's like you're just getting sessions with them and you're like, oh, you're watching their evolution and are they going to stay together? Are they going to break up? Are they just maintaining? And I get to the finale episode, and it's new couples because the season's ending, so they're introducing new couples. And I knew a couple.
No.
And then I heard...
What?
And then I heard intimate pieces of their relationship.
Do I know this person?
No. I worked with them at a restaurant 15 years ago when I first moved to New York, and I really liked them.
Shit.
But a piece of information about them that I had forgotten... I mean, I guess I can say their names because they're on this show, right?
Right. I mean, they put themselves on TV.
Their names are Laura and Trey.
Okay.
And they are theater people. And they started dating when they were 13. And so they are in their late 30s. And they are still together. And so they were just talking about people telling them you guys can never break up. And how that is a thing that hangs over both of them because they met when they were 13 and now they're in their fucking 30s. And they have these old lives. But it's this weight of also people having so much expectation of them as this couple. Anyway, I gasped and I was I need to tell someone. But I was who knows them from this restaurant? So I did text a few people. Actually, no, I texted one person and they didn't respond.
They might not have Showtime. You might have to give them your Showtime password.
I have done that lately, and I will. If you haven't seen Work in Progress and you want to, it's one of the best shows I've watched in the last, 5 years. I highly recommend it. Please slide into my DMs and leave us a review, and I will give you a password to Showtime.
Yeah, one beautiful listener finally took Damien up on that. So
2!
Thank you. 2?
Yes.
Oh my God, 2. Okay, well, bless those 2 people for really doing God's work. We are excited. I hope that Work in Progress comes back soon because I need it in my life. Look, I have something to tell you that I am watching, but I think we should introduce the show first. So welcome back. Hello to another episode of You Might Know Her From with Damien and Ann.
Hi, I'm Damien over here watching Couples Therapy on Showtime.
Hi, I'm Ann, and Damien, I cannot wait to tell you. I actually kept this reveal until today because I decided last minute with my partner to watch last night at 10:30 Mayor of Easttown, which everyone has been talking about. I've been calling it Mayor Winningham for about 2 weeks, not knowing what it was about. I thought it was about Massachusetts, and then I learned it was about Pennsylvania. I said, well, now I'm more interested. And
it takes place really close to my hometown. It was filmed in my hometown.
Okay, I can't believe I didn't know that. I'm obsessed with how quote unquote prestige TV this is. And I'm not going to give any spoilers except to say, like, okay, I know the Jean Smart renaissance is happening. Thank God. Look, if you think we haven't tried Jean Smart, she was top 10 on our list from day one. We've been trying Jean Smart. We love her. She's so excellent. But this show, Mayor of Easttown, the dialect work from Kate Winslet is so out of control. Also, the set design, all of the choices where they're like I'm just going to tell you, this is a spoiler. She comes home from a long day of work and the first thing she eats is easy cheese. And it's like, I can't believe that they're like, this is what it is to be like a working class detective in Pennsylvania. And she was like, I'm going to go over out of town and get a cup of water. And then at some point she gets a limp and then Kate Winslet's walking around her house being like, I need a cup of water, limping through the living room. And I was like, I can't deal with this TV show. Jean Smart's performance, much more understated. I don't know that I think the show is good at all, but it is one of those like, you know, stupid HBO series that I'm like, I'll watch 6 episodes of this, like that thing we watched with Nicole Kidman and Hugh Grant. And we were like, is this good? Is this terrible? Who knows? But it definitely is worth watching for Kate Winslet's dialect work and her limp.
Does she sound like me? Does she sound like my mom?
I think when I heard water and oat, or I can't even do it. Can you do out? How does your mom say out? It's that sound.
Outside. I'm trying to think. I can't.
What about go to town? No, I can't get the O. It's the OU. But yeah, water. I recognized a few of the sounds, but it's also, the whole thing is like, to me, very cartoonishly like written and set directed. It's enjoyable to me. It's also like, it's like Kate Winslet's Broadchurch, but ultimately who cares? Like, I don't think it's really good, but I'm enjoying it.
I also... Is Mayor a thing? Like, I know there's Mayor Winningham. I have an Aunt Mayor, but is that like a regional thing? Or to me, like, I know no one besides Mayor Winningham and my Aunt Mayor. I know nobody else who has that name, and I've never heard it.
It's the name of a female horse. That's what I know it.
Yeah, but like, it's like my Aunt Mayor's name is Mary Ann, but like she goes by Mayor, and I think that I always thought that was cool. But now that Kate Winslet has it, I'm like, oh, is this
it's spelled M-A-R-E, like her name is Mayor, like Mayor Winningham.
Yeah, well, my aunt spells it like M-A-I-R, and that's not how she spells Mary Ann. Actually, I don't know.
I like that.
Wait, hold on. Let me see how Aunt Mayor spells her name. Hold, folks. Folks, if you've never, I just typed in Aunt Folks in my phone. Oh, my aunt spells it M-A-I-R. I was right. So my Aunt Mayor spells her name that way.
I need you to watch the first episode so you can see the easy cheese. It's, of course, you know, look, here's the thing. I've gone through a real journey with Kate Winslet. I was obsessed with her in her younger years of her career where I felt like she DGAF. Now I feel like she does GAF and tries a little too much, which, you know, you can't blame anybody in the industry. It's a horrible business. But I do feel like she's trying a little too hard these days, and I'd like it if she relaxed and stopped defending Woody Allen. So anyway, it's worth it for her limp, definitely. And of course, Jean Smart, who is perfection.
Folks, if you're new to this show, this is what we do. We talk about what we are watching. We talk about the pop culture nonsense and just the things that we care about. It might be our families. It may be politics. It may be reality TV. It may be our aging bodies. It may be our friendship. It may be that we just watched Grease 1 and 2 in part back to back. But this is our little show. We do that every week. And then, of course, sandwiched between our BS, we interview an actress every week.
So we're on episode 89 this week, and we just wanted to fill you all in. For the new listeners, for the old listeners, a little bit of housekeeping. We are going to be taking a breather for the summer, but we're going to be in and out over the next couple of months with some special episodes. So just make sure that you're subscribed and following us on social media for any and all official updates. We promise to be dropping some nuggets. And of course, we're gearing up for season 4, which will be launching early in the fall, and trying to get you all of those goodies that we didn't get for seasons 1, 2, and 3. If you have names of people that you're clamoring for, DM us, tweet us, text us if you have our numbers, DM us for our numbers. Who knows? Maybe we'll give them out. Like, I want to know who you want on You Might Know Her From.
Folks, we've been talking about this a lot lately, the idea of having a moment. I feel like we were just talking about that with Valerie Mahaffey. She's like having this moment. She's on Young Sheldon, and that is like tip of the iceberg. Like Young Sheldon, then Dead to Me, then Big Sky, and then of course like the piece de Resistance, which is her amazing performance in French Exit, which BTW is now streaming. So having a moment, it's like, you know, we talked to Michelle Buteau when she first was like booking huge roles, and now she's like the host of The Circle, which I can't not see everywhere. And also she's like in every movie and TV show, including the first Wives Club revival on BET+. So all of that to say, it was very exciting to land this week's interview with Saycon Sengbloh, who has been a New York theater staple for, I don't know, like 15 plus years, but is certainly having a moment right now.
In fact, you'll be glad to know that she was cast in the Wonder Years pilot when we were speaking to her, and just yesterday it was announced that the pilot got picked up to series, so we'll be seeing a lot of Saycon this coming summer when the Aretha biopic Respect comes out, and when the Wonder Years reboot launches with Dule Hill and executive produced by Lee Daniels.
We love it.
You might know her from Scandal,
Eclipsed,
Wicked,
Fela,
Delilah,
In the Dark,
the forthcoming Wonder Years reboot,
and the Aretha Franklin biopic Respect. Oh my gosh. We are here with actress, singer, and Tony nominee Saycon Sengbloh. Saycon, thank you for being here on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
So at the time of this recording, you have a number of huge projects on the horizon. So first, it was recently just announced that you're the mother in the new ABC Wonder Years reboot, which is executive produced by Lee Daniels. And in March, your new series Delilah premiered on OWN. So you've been working professionally for the last 20 plus years, but you have a lot of high profile irons in the fire right now. And I know this might sort of sound like a big, broad question, but like, does it feel like a moment right now?
It definitely feels like a moment right now. And I'm so pleased to have a chance to talk about that, because everything is just lining up in such a way in so many parts of my life, from the career to the personal, all of it. It really feels like a moment. And I attribute a good part of it to, besides me doing way more than my 10,000 hours, as they say you got to do. I was at 20,000 hours, but I feel like I made some decisions about how I wanted to live my life, about my lifestyle. And when I did that, I actually started to have more of the success that I wanted. And I think that's something that a lot of actors don't do. A lot of actors spend a lot of time hoping and wishing and praying and just only thinking about trying to get a job. And I started thinking about other things, and then the jobs started to flow.
It's very cool. You mentioned before we started recording that you had actually moved to North Carolina and then landed Delilah. That's, the kismet of that is kind of beautiful.
Yeah, that's another example. It's just more a continuation of that. I will say this, for a person who's first, getting into the business, at some point it could benefit you for sure to live in either LA or New York, because there's huge industry in entertainment in both of those cities, in theater and also in television and film. But I found that I spent a great deal of time there, and I go there to work. I go where I need to go to work. But there was this one year in particular that I worked in Canada for 4 months, and then I did a concert in Texas. I did a concert in Wisconsin. I shot a photo shoot in Atlanta. I did and I tallied it all up, and I was like, it seems like I work other places and I come back and live in New York. And I was like, how about I live somewhere else? And then if I need to work in New York, I come to New York. So I started doing some research on cities outside of New York and LA that had some of the other things that I want in life, in terms of lifestyle, in terms of just vibes, And I also wanted to be a new city, because I'm from Atlanta. I could have very easily just gone to Atlanta. I just wanted to be a new city. And in my research, I came up with this list, and I was like, I'm going to do this place. I'm going to do this area for a month. I'll do this area for a month, and then I'll do this other city for a month. Because, there was you can't go anywhere, and, just trying to be careful. You can't just be if it weren't for that, I probably would have tried to do 10 cities in 3 months, because I was really oh, I'm going to be a digital nomad. And my family is like, what are you doing? Where are you at? They told nobody gets it at all, because I do everything, you know how it is. And then when it was time for me to leave my first period in my first city, I just was like, oh, I'm not ready to leave. And then it happened again, and I extended. And it's oh, I'm not ready to leave. And then I extended it. I was like, oh, I'm not ready to leave. In between all that, I'm auditioning. Audition tapes. And then that last audition tape was for Delilah. And then I got the part. And then it shoots here.
Your local hire.
Yeah. So then I was like, oh, maybe that's why I wasn't ready to leave,
Yeah, it's very cool.
I don't know if there's anything you can tell us, but like, how does the Wonder Years factor into this? Like, has anything happened with that yet? Like, do you know where that will shoot? And can you tell us anything at the moment?
So it's all very new. It was just such an amazing opportunity to be cast in that role and to do the pilot. And I'm really excited for the pilot to get picked up. Ooh, Lord, let it get picked up. It's based down south, so that will be really nice because it's a Southern family. And I think we're all kind of in the same age range. We grew up on that show. We grew up on the Wonder Years. So like to be a part of that brand, a new iteration of that story is just thrilling, really, really thrilling for me. I mean, I've worked with ABC before. I was on
Scandal?
Scandal, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I was on Scandal and I got to be like, I was kissing on Tony Goldwyn and arguing with Kerry Washington. And I was like, literally on set, like, I was like, is this really what's happening? Because I love the show and I love those actors. And, you know, a lot of these things are really secretive. When I was auditioning for that show, I knew I was auditioning for the show, but I didn't realize what the role was. I didn't know until I got my real script on my flight on my way there. So I was like, oh, that's Olivia? I was like, oh, that's the president? We're talking about the president? Oh, like I just was not, I was like, what the heck? So now to be doing ABC, having my own character, Miss Lillian Williams, the Wonder Years, it's a middle-class family from Montgomery, Alabama, and I'm from down south, just getting a chance to just bring what I bring in terms of who that type of lady would be and work with Lee Daniels and Saladin Patterson. And of course, Fred Savage. I'm just above and over the moon about it, really excited about it.
So can we mention the fact that, you know, you start as Angela Webster, director of the FBI in that 6th season of Scandal. So like you said, you were kissing on Fitz, but eventually I was obsessed with the fact that you get to dress him down in that last scene where you say, boy, I am the director of the FBI. How did that gig come to you and how satisfying was that last speech? It was so good.
I will tell you, a lot of people like that speech, right? But I was like, oh my God, everybody's going to hate me. I was like, they are going to hate me. They're going to be like, how did you talk to the president like that? Sometimes I enjoy playing a bad guy. And then sometimes I'm just like, ooh, because I like everybody. Sometimes I'm worried about what people think, you know? So it wasn't as satisfying as it looks. When I was doing it, I just kept being like, everybody's going to hate me.
But also at the end of it, you say, also, I hope to see you later. Like, I was like, okay.
And I'll see you in the bedroom. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. And Tony is so sweet. Like, he's just awesome. And he has like the best hair.
Oh my God. It's incredible. It's so wavy.
Yeah, it's really wavy and thick. He's just like ageless. And I don't know his life. I've only worked with him on that show. But I promise you, I'm looking at his face. He don't look like he had no work. Like he just is just well preserved. Like he looks like he's 35. I'm like, who are you?
And I think he's close to double that. Yes, you know, and it's like Ghost. He looks good. He looks good.
Like Ghost came out a long time ago. I was like,
Ghost was so important to me. He was very sexy and Ghost was so bad.
It was a good movie.
Yeah,
I'm like this is a good looking man. I was like, you're a good looking man. I was very pleased to work with him. And Carrie was pregnant at the time that we shot.
That explains the dusters. They had her in a lot of long dusters. That makes total sense.
And briefcases. I'd like to talk to you. I'd like to talk to you.
Yes.
Ignore this briefcase now.
You know, we discovered you in the New York theater, and we just want to touch on one of, you know, our favorite credits. You were Tony nominated for your role as Helena, aka Wife Number 1, in Denai Guerrera's Eclipsed. So for our listeners, if you're not familiar, it's a play that follows 5 women in 2003 during the Second Liberian Civil War. This was, you know, landmark because it was the first play on Broadway to have an all-Black, all-female cast and creative team. And what was so interesting about it is your father was Liberian, and in the play you're asked to use a Liberian accent. In Guerrera's script, she actually has all of these instructions for every member of the creative team to do all of this extensive research. So we were sort of interested in, like, how did you prepare for the very demanding role, and did you sort of bring a personal element into it as well?
Yeah, I definitely brought a personal element. That was another moment of kismet in a way, in my opinion. I auditioned for that role, and I was also auditioning for a movie like the same week. And I booked both of those parts. But I'll be honest that because they were both like, I had like 5 scenes and like 3 scenes, and this one had the accent. I was just nervous because it was a lot on my shoulders that particular week. And I had to just like think to myself, like, who else is going to be in this thing? I got to be in this thing. Like, who else is like of Liberian heritage and on Broadway? Like, I got to be in this thing. They got to put me in this thing,
Yeah.
I worked really hard on my audition, and I was so pleased to get the part and to be and witness how brilliant Danai is. Like, she's a brilliant actress. A lot of people know her from The Walking Dead, even before Black Panther. And she's just brilliant. And she's like a brilliant walking supermodel, right? So like Danai and Lupita, they're just like gazelles walking around. I'm just like, ooh, let me fit my dress on. Like, they're gorgeous. Like, they just like, it was amazing to be a part of that. But I'll say, we did do a lot of research, and I have personally done a lot of research just to know a lot about my dad's country. And I personally had to step away from the research a lot because it was a lot of information that I was extremely familiar with. It wasn't new information for me. It was almost like picking at a scab. And so there were times where I was like, I had to kind of like, we rehearsed and we were trained to find ways to have self-care, because when you dive into characters that are dealing with war and dealing with abuse, there's a thing they say, this is how imagination works too. Like, you're using your brain to do imagination, but your body doesn't know that it's imagination. Your body is like, oh, we're at war. You know what I mean? Your body is like, I'm being attacked, which is why they say you should, when you're thinking about the things you want to do in your life, really visualize things how you want them to be, because you're putting your body through a certain trauma. So, I personally had to be careful with myself because I was just so familiar with a lot of the atrocities that happened during the Civil War and just a lot of various things. And so I just had to do a lot of self-care and do the best that I could. And the women on the show, they were so wonderful. We have a thread. We have the longest thread that's been going. I have a thread for every show, like the hair thread. There's no Fela thread, but there's like there's kind of a Fela thread because with some of the girls on Fela. Then there's the Eclipsed thread, and just chats or whatever. I ended up getting out of little tea for y'all. I ended up hopping out of that hair thread because they were just talking too crazy one day, and I was like, I don't want to hear this. Delete myself.
You left the conversation.
I left the conversation.
Oh my God, that is so iconic to me.
Yes,
we've had it happen to us. Like, we've had a friend leave the group, and it was like, oh, crickets, we were being too catty today, and her spirit was not ready for it.
And I was like, maybe and I hope everybody doesn't think I don't love them. I love them. I love everybody. But I was like, delete. Speaking on behalf of people who leave threads, it's not because they don't love you. It's just they're overwhelmed.
Thank you.
Thanks for the clarity.
Yeah.
So, Saycon, you have a ton of Broadway musical credits. Fela, Holler If You Hear Me, Motown, Wicked, Hair, Aida, The Color Purple. But how did it feel for your first Tony nomination to be for a play? Like, what did it feel like?
Oh, it was like vindication. I was like, I'm an actress. I think, people are so prejudiced against musical theater performers.
Yeah.
They're so prejudiced. They think that all we do is like live life in a song, and, I've been acting for a very long time. Before I came to New York, I had a more diversified, I was doing a lot of voiceovers. I do more voiceovers now. But when I was growing up in Georgia, I was doing voiceovers. I was doing plays. I was doing musicals. I was doing industrials. I was doing commercials. I was doing modeling. I was doing everything when I was in Atlanta. And then when I got to New York, boom, I got on the musical theater train, and they wouldn't let me off the car. And I was like, wait, I want to do something else. And they were like, stay on that car. And so I realized this is a wonderful opportunity. I've done a few off-Broadway plays, and people have gotten the chance to see me act. But, one of this is the thing I'll say. Don't tell nobody.
We would never.
Don't tell anybody but your listeners. But there is the weirdest thing in that you can be off Broadway doing a quirky little play and can barely pay your rent and be on the cover of the arts entertainment section of the Times magazine. But you could be a gazelle in The Lion King making like $2,000 a week. And the broke person that's doing the quirky play is getting all this love. And then the Broadway person is not getting any respect. It is like fascinating how like Broadway people work so hard and don't always get the respect, especially a Broadway ensemble member. You know, I've been on both sides. I've been a principal, I've been an ensemble member, I've been a standby. You know, standby is a principal too, but it's just, you're just in between. You're just a floating island off to yourself. And, you know, I just have the utmost respect, especially for ensemble members on Broadway. You know, now don't get me wrong. If I got to go and do a quirky play and get respect and get a chance to get my acting chops in, that's great. But when you're doing all the things that it takes to do that, you still need the survival money that you would need to take care of yourself the same way you would if you were in a big commercial production.
I think it's like what you said at the beginning of the interview, you know, like you wanted more. And it was like, you know, you can, I think as young artists, lots of artists, not all, but lots of artists, you know, we are sort of trained to be like, yeah, the role, the material, the attention, the exposure, that's what it's for, right? And it's like, well, also, like, if I've been doing this for a long time and I've proven myself and I'm good, I also need to be able to, like, actually live and have stability in my life.
I need to be able to buy a sandwich. Can I get a sandwich? No. So, yeah, that is so real. I love to talk to people who are just getting started out, because one of the things that happens is when you're passionate about something that people like to see you do, they'll get you to do it without always, you know, paying you for it, or, you know, you'll do it for free, you know, and we all love to perform for free. I sit on my YouTube and I talk for free. I sip tea and it's like, Saycon talk. Because I like to talk. I love it. You know, I sing. I like to sing. I like to, you know, and you enjoy doing it. But like, there's a point where you have to make sure you're being properly compensated and or just getting the treatment that you deserve, you know. But like, there are like levels to like really understanding your value and what you bring to the world as an individual. Every single individual brings something different to the world, and understanding that. Like, that's the other thing, understanding your individuality. That was a thing that I realized probably about 10 years ago. I locked onto my individuality. And that's when I stopped worrying about how fat I was, or how skinny I was, or how tall I was, or how dark I was, or how my hair wasn't doing this or that. I was just like, if y'all in the Saycon business, y'all can have some today. Oh, y'all wasn't into me? Okay, call me for the next audition. I just started to like, you know, I call it my mango method. I'm a mango, right? So I show up to the banana audition. I was a mango. Oh, y'all looking for bananas? Okay. Call me when you want a mango. I will always be a mango, you know? So like, once I realized that, when I go into a room auditioning and it's like a bunch of girls and none of them look like me, or a bunch of them, they look alike and I don't, or that, like, you know, like, I'm just like, if they're in for this, then I'm the best version of this they can get, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things we're so excited about is connecting the dots, because Liesl Tommy directed you in Eclipsed, and now, of course, has directed you in the Aretha Franklin biopic, Respect, which is finally, thank God, due out this summer. Woo! We're so excited about this because you're playing Erma Franklin, who is actually one of my favorites. She's Aretha's sister, who was a phenomenal artist in her own right, sang the original Piece of My Heart, later made famous by Janis Joplin. Mm-hmm. She is incredible, and she also sang a backup on like lots of Aretha records. So we were so excited when you were announced to play Erma. What, if anything, can you tell us about that set, about Jennifer Hudson's transformation, recreating those studio scenes? The trailer looks really good. Yeah,
the trailer is so good. Even before they released the full trailer, they had the little sizzle, and it was just like Jennifer in a silhouette, and it was like, who? What? Yeah, just silhouette. I was like, yes, Jennifer. Let me tell you, just being on set with her, doing the choreography, being in those costumes, having that fun hair, it was a lot of fun. And I'm so excited that it's finally coming out. And I hope that, you know, that the world continues to grow and open up so that we have a big old fancy, big fat red carpet amazing opening. Like I will just be, I don't know. I keep saying over the moon. That's my only thing to do. Come over the moon. If that thing comes out and we get to really do big red carpets, it'll be so amazing. I don't even know if I'm answering the question well, because when you mentioned it, I started thinking about dance steps that we were doing. It was just really fun to learn how to walk and talk and be in a different era. Because one of the coolest things that our choreographer, Christopher, he said, he was explaining to us that people nowadays are like in their hips, like pop, everybody's, popping and, but like people then were like in their neck, like grooving, like things were just different type of groove. So when you get that groove, like think about like Diana Ross or like when you see those old videos and like you're watching like the Bee Gees, everybody's like in their shoulder. And that brings it to that era versus nowadays, everything is down here, like, which brings, so he'd be like, bring it up, get it out of the hip, and then the times when we were really being in the hips, it was really purposeful hip stuff, so it was just interesting to study like the different vibes of an era.
You have the distinction of being the first and only, I think, Black woman to portray Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. And there's a beautiful bootleg of you doing The Wizard and I on YouTube, and you're very, very good. So you were a standby, and you went on in 2003, but to date, there still hasn't been a Black actress cast as the principal Elphaba full-time in a Broadway production. Did you feel the weight and sort of like the historic moment of that when you did Elphaba?
I always have to give love to Brandy Massey because at the time that I was the standby, Brandy Massey was in the ensemble and she was also the next cover. So if Shoshana wasn't available, they'd get me. If I wasn't available, they would have Brandy. And Brandy Massey is also African-American. And yeah, you're right. I don't think that they've had, to this date, I don't think they've had a full-time African-American Elphaba or Black Elphaba or Caribbean Elphaba or African Elphaba or whatever you want to call it, because people got different titles and names and things.
There is the actress in the West End who played the role full time, who is a Black actress. Yes,
but not in the U.S. where the original show is. That hasn't happened. I think I was definitely feeling the weight in many ways, and I was also being a standby. You're just separated. You're very separated, and I was just on a different schedule than everybody else. I would just rehearse and I would do promo events, and then I'd come in and do the show. So it would be like, it's so interesting when you are a standby. You're not the person who is, like everybody's doing the show all the time, right? But when you're the standby, you're either like hanging out, talking to the doorman, or you're the star of the show. So everything was so randomly, extremely practical that I wasn't thinking of like, oh my goodness, I'm making some statement by being the first Black person, because, it was just my everyday life of like being on standby. I think when Ben Vereen came, there was this one day we were doing a rehearsal. It was probably a rehearsal for him. We were getting him ready for the show. Like when you do run throughs with the standbys, they're all about time and like managing time. So if there's a song that's not needed for the run through, they'll like do the tops and bottoms of the song. Like you'll be like, did that really just the wizard ended? And like that's it. And then you just go into the thing because they don't really need to rehearse that song. And so whatever song it was, for some reason I was singing the whole song. I think it was No Good Deed or something. And Ben Vereen was on the same side of the stage and he said, Saycon. Saycon. And I was like, is that Ben Vereen saying my name? What is happening? And then I was like, Ben Vereen he's acknowledging the magic of this moment, He was just like, like giving me, and I was like, whatever, right? I was like, oh, this is special. Like Ben Vereen is like letting me know you got it, girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like a moment. I wonder if he remembers that.
You made your Broadway debut in Aida as a standby Aida, and then would go on to cover the role in between pop stars like Michelle Williams, Toni Braxton, and Deborah Cox. You were also an understudy in The Color Purple and Hair. So did you reach a point in your career where you were like, I'm a star, and you had to communicate that to casting directors, or did things just sort of organically evolve out of that track?
I always felt like a star, even as a standby. I felt like a star. My brother would say, he would just be like, you like the second tier quarterback. Like,
Oh, I love that.
They bring in the ringer.
Yeah, he would just always tell me that. And I just always, I always felt like a star. But I did think to myself at some point, that I won't do another standby. So then by the time I did Motown, because I was in the ensemble, a lot of times ensemble members will cover principals. I was like, I'm going to do my one track. And I had it built into my contract that I would not cover anybody in that show. Like, don't ask me to be third tier Diana up in here. Don't ask me. Don't ask me. I was like, because I'm not about to be at rehearsal all day. Like, that's the thing. This is the thing people don't realize. You doing 8 shows a week, but then when you cover somebody, you're also rehearsing all day Thursday, all day Friday. Then you got 2 shows Saturday, maybe 2 shows Sunday. Like, you only have Monday all day and Tuesday afternoon free. Like, it's quite a grind, So I did reach that point. I was talking to a friend of mine last night, a new friend who has so many experiences in TV and film and also theater and whatnot. And he was talking about how he quit different shows and stuff. And I was like, maybe I should have quit some shows. Every show I did, the best thing they ever did was fire me. Every time somebody didn't renew my contract, I was so glad, because I think I was like scared to like leave. Notoriously, they say a lot of people don't quit The Lion King because it's just a good gig. So they'll take a leave, but they don't really quit, like they can always kind of come back,
Yeah, there were like cast members like Donna Marie Asbury in Chicago who did like 20 years in Chicago or something. She was like, I put both my kids through college. Yeah. She was like, I'm I'm done now.
People are like, this is a good gig. They're like, I'm not trying to do anything else. I could be working, a totally different vocation, So
yeah,
I always felt like a star, but I also did have to learn to, like I said, I had to learn to say no, because I think people can be really closed-minded and think of actors in a very specific way. That's how people get stuck. So like, which brings us back around to that question about getting the Tony nomination for a play. It was like, oh yeah, because I ain't just doing backflips, like I can do other stuff. So yeah.
Okay, so Saycon, your on-screen credits include the aforementioned Scandal, but also Julie Dash's Funny Valentines, starring Alfre Woodard and Loretta Devine, and The Ditch Digger's Daughters, based on Yvonne S. Thornton's memoir. But one of your most high-profile TV credits is the CW procedural In the Dark, which, listen, I just binged your entire arc in the last, 2 days. So the series chronicles a murder that a blind woman who's also a drunk brings to the police, and you play Jules Becker, who is a Chicago PD detective on the case, who is also having a secret relationship with a suspect in this murder.
Spoiler alert.
Oh yeah, spoiler alert. I mean, there's a lot to, you just got tased. It's so much. Okay, so I screamed. I actually gasped. Okay, so coming from a life,
it was cute. I was like, oh, you cute. She gonna tase me. I was like,
you got tased and then gassed and then injected. It was like a 1, 2, 3. It was. They made sure to end it. I was like, I guess this is the end of the arc. I really was like, I think this is over.
That was funny the way you just described it, because that's exactly what it was.
So, okay. So coming from this beautiful life in the theater, you have all of these theater credits. What is it like when you secure a TV gig for a network like the CW? And how much intel do you have about your character from that original pilot? There's so many twists and turns. Did you know that she was having this secret relationship with Darnell?
No, I didn't know a lot of stuff. It was just unfolding. And I was like, what? Every time I would get a script, I do the hair and makeup and everybody, they knew, but I didn't know. Honestly, I thought it was going to be 3 episodes.
You were doing great work there. You had a beautiful scene where you had to tell that young man about the first murder you ever saw. And I was like, okay, this is a Tony-nominated actress. You were really I was elevating this material, but I was wondering what it's like to that was your first regular, TV gig, multiple episodes. And I was sort of what is it like? And was the CW treating you good,
That's a good question. I thought that it was going to be 3 episodes. So I didn't prepare. When I started going, I was like, oh, I'm going to go to Toronto a couple of times. Okay. So I didn't prepare my home or myself to be gone as long as I was gone. You know what I mean? Like, when you're going to be gone, like you clean out the fridge, you lock stuff up, you know what I mean? Like, I lock my door, but like when you're going to really be gone, you take out all the trash. Like, I was like, wait, I'm still here? I thought I was going back on Thursday. Like, I got a package coming. Like, what? You know what I mean? So I wasn't quite prepared. I didn't really understand that it was going to be such a full thing. And I think sometimes maybe shows do that, where they tell you it's going to be a little bit of something and they have an idea about something. But also the people who are playing the parents on the show, I think the way that the show initially was written, the parents were going to be in more of it. I don't know. But I remember one day getting in the car to go to rehearsal, and the father, he was like, "You're still here?" And I was like, "Yeah." And the guy who played my partner, what's his name? He played Dean.
Rich Summer.
Yeah, Rich. He'd be like, "You still here?" They would all be like, "You said," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I guess."
You're like the lead of the last 4 episodes. It's like your story. You're like on the case. You like solve the crime, and then suddenly you get like boom, 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 and you're done.
Let me tell you. And then what was really funny is that, so the guy playing the dad was like, "I ain't worked in 2 weeks. Like, I've been working every day." And he was a series regular. That's how, that's how crazy this stuff can be. I was like, I'm out here solving cases and doing things, and you just in there twiddling your fingers. And I'm sure you're getting a bigger check than me. One of the producers had called me before the script came out, like, to give me that talk. And I was like, oh, y'all about to tase me. So, but it was a big learning lesson for me. The thing that I'm excited about the Wonder Years, if it gets picked up, is that I'll have a position in the hierarchy where I'll get scripts more ahead of time, and I'll be able to, because that's the thing. Like, when you're a character lower on the list, you're getting stuff like, you're just getting just what you need, because you're not, you're just not that high on the totem pole. But when you're higher, they're sending you scripts ahead of time, so you know where the story's going, so you can memorize your lines long. You're just able to get ahead of things. So it's weird. Like, I'll have a bigger responsibility on the Wonder Years, but I'll be able to manage it better because I'll just have more access,
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, Saycon, we've entered the part of the show that we like to call the rapid fire. It's rapid for us. You can take as much time as you need. Just allows us to sort of do our non sequiturs. Okay, Saycon, you appeared in American Gangster as Idris Elba's woman, that was your character description, in a funeral scene, but you don't seem to have any lines in that scene. Be honest, did you create a backstory for this character, or did you roll in and shoot from the hip?
Rolled in and shot from the hip. All I had to say was, "I don't want no shrimp." And I was all
so good.
Yes, and thank you. And I was all prepared to scream when Denzel shoots him, but Ridley Scott, he was like, "You're in it for the money, hun." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't know how to do his accent.
I liked it.
I was like, should I scream? Denzel. First of all, I'm like, Denzel.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening right now? And then Denzel, shoots him, and I was all ready to scream, and he was like, "You're in it for the money, And I was like, okay. So then, because in the way they cut it and the music and all that. Yeah. So no, I did not have a character developed. I just was a flouncy girl in a short skirt.
Okay, I'm obsessed with the Franklin sisters, and also with the fact that Carolyn Franklin, who wrote Ain't No Way, was a lesbian. This was thrilling to realize. So does that make it into the movie? Can you tell us, or is she getting the straight wash?
So I'll tell you, we shot a lot of things, but I don't know if it'll make it into the movie.
Okay, so there's a potential that her lesbianism there might be a nod to it. I'm hoping.
I hope it doesn't get cut. We'll see what happens, but y'all didn't hear that from me. We shot all I'll say is we shot a lot of things, and we'll see we'll see where it.
You got tased in it as well, but we don't know if that made it in.
Saycon, you played Mimi on the tour of Rent. You also, as we mentioned, play Elphaba in Wicked on Broadway. Rent heads and Wicked heads are both known for being rabid fans. Who has the more wild fan base?
Oh, Wicked all day. Like Rent. I mean, Rent fans. Well, maybe it stands out in my head more because my hashtag Saycon Sengbloh has been taken over by green pictures of myself during Black History Month. And I'm trying to let people know that I'm in a movie. And then it's like, green pictures of Saycon, green pictures. Every time I look at my hashtag, I'm like, So I want to say Wicked, and I wouldn't give that away at all because, like, I'm very it's awesome.
Sure,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
But the wicked of it all, it's kind of like having been Rudy Huxtable on the Cosby Show. Like Rudy is like 40 and just had a baby, and everybody is like, Rudy, hi Rudy, and she's like, I just had a baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's grown, and like, that was a while back. But during Rent, the Rent fans, the Rent heads were like pretty serious. There's still some really good nostalgic Rent fans. And that the music for both of the shows is so good, and I don't know how to. I want to say Wicked.
It's Wicked, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Okay, Saycon, you studied Spanish in college. Can you say "Boy, I'm the director of the FBI" in Spanish for us?
Niño, no, chico, yo soy la directora del FBI.
Yes, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, Saycon, you portrayed Aida, and you took over the role from some heavyweights, Toni Braxton, Michelle Williams, and Deborah Cox. We ask this question a lot on this show, but if you fell down a well and had the cell phone numbers of only those 3 women, which one of them would you call for help?
Probably Michelle.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm saying Michelle because they were all lovely. They were really sweet. And Deborah and I randomly will tweet each other here and there.
I
right?
actually love Deborah Cox. I would probably choose her, honestly.
And Tony, I'm not choosing it off of their
No, I know. I'm editorializing this for myself.
So then Tony, when she was there, she was so generous. Like she gave us all like Tiffany. I have a crystal Tiffany beer mug from Toni Braxton. Like she's very, but Michelle has stayed in contact with me. When I did Fela, she sent me a big old bouquet. Also, when she started she has a home line. She sent me this big old comforter with pillows and bedding with her name on the tag. You know what I mean? Like I'd be like, girl, Michelle. She'd be like, what you need? You need some more bedding?
Also, like she remembers, she like,
you'd be like, I'll put a shoe down and get you out of this well. Like, you know what I mean? So
absolutely. Okay, I'm into it.
When I did the Bob Marley play, she came to the play, like, and she was friends with the bass player. She's just like, she's a top-notch girl. She's really good.
Saycon Sengbloh, thank you so much for being on You Might Know Her From. This has been a total pleasure.
Thank you. This has been so much fun for me. As y'all can see, I was laughing my butt off. This was so much fun.
Okay, here's one thing I love about Saycon Sengbloh. She says over the moon, I think not once but twice, like us, which we, have a habit of saying because we have old-timiness in our bones. So I was very pleased to hear her say it. What a treasure.
I never really thought about Over the Moon being a old-timey reference, but then Tashina Arnold sort of called us out on it. And I was like, oh, yeah, well, we are old-timey. Skidoo, I was obsessed with Saycon's like conversations around understudying and also being a standby. I felt like when she talked about her brother saying that she was like the second string quarterback, something for me really like connected. And I was like, oh, that makes total sense. Like what a job to have star power, first to have the talent to just be able to sing, dance, and act your way through whatever role you're covering, but then have like the star power to be able to carry a role, because like some of that is just X factor. Like you can be a great singer or a great actor, but like no one wants you to be the lead of a thing. Right. And then to have that like she was saying how so much of it is just like practical, because you're like, I'm here, I'm on call, okay, I can leave. So I just thought that was totally fascinating, and I was so like glad we had that conversation because I feel like it was the first of its kind to date.
Also, go to sayconsengbloh.com. She has her hands in many pies, and she is sort of exploding right now. So go to that site. Also, please spend some time going to YouTube. If you Google Saycon Wizard, her bootleg of The Wizard and I comes up, and I watched it again today to put it in the show notes, which please check out the show notes. She's incredible. And I'm like you were saying, you could hire somebody that could sing Elphaba and you'd probably let some of the acting part go. And you'd be like, well, she's got an incredible voice. She's doing Elphaba. But then I think you bring somebody like Saycon, who is just an astonishing actor. When we saw her in Eclipsed, I saw her in The Blood off Broadway, the Susan Laurie Parks play. I mean, she just blew my mind. She has this incredible acting talent. So when you add that into having that voice and that charisma, I think her Elphaba is like one of my favorites. Incredible.
Ooh, Julia Murray shaking in her boots.
Shots fired!
Babies, as we mentioned at the beginning of this episode, this is our official penultimate episode. We will be coming back next week to close out the season with an incredible guest, but this is our penultimate, so make sure you're locked in with us, and please dig into those archives, see who we interviewed in season 1, check out our interview with Daphne Rubin Vega as you get prepared to go see In the Heights in the movie theater, hopefully. You know, check and look in those archives, go listen to our interview with Kathleen Turner, and find out why it was cut short. Dig into these archives, please, 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 please.
Honey buns, you know what time it is. It's time to leave us a review. If you have done it already, please tell your friends. See if you can get them to leave a review. I don't care what kind of favors you have to extend. Do what you can. We're going into the hot dog days of summer here in New York City. It's going to be 84 this week. We just need you in our corner. For those of you that have been, thank you so much. But a review on the Apple Podcast app is the best thing you can do. 5 stars and a few words. It can be the name of an actress. It can be a shrimp emoji. Shout out to Pepe the Prawn. It can be whatever whatever your heart desires, whatever you like about the show. And if you have constructive criticism, as we always say, send that to us in a DM. We want to know what you love about the show, what could be better. We are always working to do our best for you, and we're really excited to close out this incredible COVID Zoom season next week with somebody that really, I think, encompasses what it means to be a You Might Know Her From.
Yes. Also, while we're at it, I think we should give a few personal shout outs because we really have developed a family with so many of our listeners, people that we knew, people that we have no idea who you are until now. And now I feel like you're a part of our heart. So we need to thank Colleen,
Rich the Bear,
Kevin Zach,
Max Wyeth,
West Coast Story,
Mark Blaine,
David Gorin,
Carmen,
Kulia,
Fitz,
and of course our stalwarts like Brenna,
David,
Clinton,
Angie,
Dee Dee,
Aaron,
Sarah Parks,
Sarah Quinn,
Alex,
Dan,
Scott,
and Jeremy. We love you. Thank you all. For those of you who have stuck with us from day one, for those of you who discovered us yesterday and are going to go back and explore episode 1 through 89, we love you. We love this job that we're doing. We don't get paid for it yet, but someday, folks, help us make it true that someday we could get paid for this. We love you, and just KIT, keep in touch. Damien, as our guests know, we've been doing this thing where we connect this week's guest to next week's guest. As I already promoted a few sentences ago, next week's guest, for us, encompasses the true nature of this podcast. I think that she is one of the most representative You Might Know Her Froms you could possibly come across. So, Damien, connect Saycon Sengbloh to next week's guest.
Okay. Saycon had an arc on Scandal with, of course, Kerry Washington, who starred in favorite of the show, The Prom.
Favorite with quotes.
Yeah. Favorite with quotes. Also starring former guest and true favorite, Mary-Kate Place.
Yes.
Mary-Kate Place was on Big Love, which co-starred Grace Zabriskie.
Yes.
Great character actress, Grace Zabriskie. You know her from like David Lynch films. She played Bill Pullman's mom on Big Love. Grace Zabriskie was in Child's Play 2 with next week's guest.
Ooh, Lord. Send us your guesses. For those of you who have been sending us guesses, it sends shivers down our spines. Please send us those guesses. We cannot wait to deliver next week's episode to you. It was a thrill ride from beginning to end.
Sugar Pie Honey Bunch. You know that we love you. Please follow us on social media. That's Instagram and Twitter, and I guess theoretically Facebook. But you can find me at Damien Bellino. That's Damien with an A. Find me at Damien Bellino, and you can find my cohort here at Rodaman. That's RODEMANNE. You Might Know Her From is produced by us. That would be me, Damien Bellino, and my beautiful baby blue-eyed friend over here, Ann Rodeman.
As always, we want to thank our fabulous consultants at Grumpy Entertainment, Jason Jude Hill and Danielle Sears, with all of that, peanut butter, smooth peanut butter and jelly editing by Danielle Sears. Danielle is a legend.
Special thanks to Gang. All the music that you hear underscoring every single episode is by Gang. You can stream and download Gang's music wherever you listen to your music.
And Babes. I've been using babe ironically, and I don't know if people think that I use babe in a real way, but I don't. I just say it with my tongue in my cheek. Babes. Did you know that I spend a lot of time creating the show notes for this show? Things such as Saycon's incredible rendition of The Wizard and I, from last week's Joanna Cassidy episode, the incredible Smokey the Bear commercial that is the stuff that nightmares are made of. These are the things
it was terrifying.
No, she was like, well, Joanna, I think you never saw the final cut because it was horrific. Anyway, there's lots of goodies to be found in the show notes. Dig back into those.
How many conversations have you been a part of where you, like group chats where you saw someone leave?
I think I've seen it on Facebook where you're like, I don't care. It's like somebody sending you a terrible Facebook message and then 17 people leave the conversation. A mass text change that's like among close people in my life, just one.
2 for me.
Really? Okay. I'm going to ask you offline who the other one was. I love you.